All right. Well, welcome everyone. We'll probably have some latecomers coming in, but let's start the program just to respect your time. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jeffrey Campos, President and CEO of the Southwest Valley Chamber of Commerce. If I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, I look forward to meeting you in the future. And I want to welcome you again to today's session. Let me kind of give you a little background on what we have for moving forward on this. This is going to be the first of our forum series that will be monthly, in which we're going to highlight a different topic from experts covering different topics like marketing, public affairs, to HR, to doing business in Mexico. So we'll have a lot of different sessions in here that every month look for it. It'll be of interest to you at some point, but hopefully we cover more than less. So thank you again for being here. And on today's forum, we're going to focus on marketing training. That includes social media, digital marketing, and we're going to learn from some of the channels that are out there, like website, blog content, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's so many out there. Sometimes knowing what to do is easier to know the best way to do it. So we're going to learn from our experts today, who will advise us on how to develop a marketing plan process, ultimately speeding achievement of what we all want, revenue-oriented benefits. So hope to learn some things for you today that will teach you, give you an idea of what to do in your own marketing strategies for your own companies. And today, before I introduce our speakers, we'll have a Q&A after the presentation, so save your questions till the end. And we'll have plenty of time for some questions that you'll probably had for years, or else some that you picked up today. So look forward to that. And let's start with our first speaker, John Hanson, Live Marketing Group. And he'll be followed by Amos, No Boundaries Marketing Group. But let's start with you, John. Welcome to our forum today.
Great. Yes. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. The way I'll kind of go about this, if I think you should be able to hear me fine. I'm going to go into a little bit of my own personal background, how I got to be where I am, what from a marketing standpoint, how I formed my company, and then give you a little bit of information about how I think businesses should be using digital marketing. Specifically, my area of expertise is social media, digital advertising. So John Hanson with Live Marketing Group. I always like to put that up there on the Zoom meetings because my wife helped me design that card and she gets upset if I don't use it. So again, John Hanson, I spent most of my life in Minneapolis, Minnesota. As some of you know, I never really liked winter. My wife didn't either. We decided to build a house in Surprise, actually. A few years ago, we made the decision to move down here, actually moved into our new house here in 2019. I started my agency, Live Marketing Group, after 4 years of working with a friend of mine in her agency doing some of the same stuff, digital marketing. But I started my career many years ago as a radio DJ, actually. So I spent years working in radio and eventually shifted to the marketing and promotion side of radio and made my way up to the position of director of marketing for a couple of radio stations in Minneapolis area that were owned by iHeartRadio. Back then it was called Clear Channel Radio. And did that for many years in marketing and radio. I had a love for music all the time. That kind of brought me to radio to begin with, but I transitioned out of radio and ended up working in a music booking agency. So I booked bands. We did everything from live events to weddings to festivals and tours. It was a lot of fun. But eventually I moved back into more of a specific marketing role as the marketing manager for the Minnesota Timberwolves NBA team. And I did that for 6 seasons, running their marketing department. And it was 6 tough seasons because we're usually one of the worst teams in the league. They still are one of the worst teams in the league. So that was painful to do. But eventually I decided to go out on my own and take what I'd learned helping these bigger companies to apply that to smaller to mid-sized companies. And so as I mentioned, I worked with a friend of mine to build up her digital business before starting my Live Marketing Group. I've always felt there's no one-size-fits-all approach to marketing, but there is certain elements and philosophies that can be put to use regardless of the business size, whether it's a large corporation or a small to mid-sized business. Since starting this agency, I have focused on digital marketing, specifically social media management, digital advertising, platforms like Google, Instagram, YouTube, etc., Facebook, of course. Plus, I've helped my clients with some of their email campaigns. Reaching businesses online is certainly my main focus. Sorry about my doorbell making noises here. I got some people coming to work at our house. My wife is dealing with them. Anyway, so my experience does predate social media marketing, and I apologize if you can hear that doorbell. I worked in traditional marketing for many years, so I've helped my clients with radio advertising, print advertising, billboard, all that stuff as well. Today, I'm obviously focusing on the digital aspect, which for most customers means or most businesses, that means bringing customers to your website. That's what you should be using your social media for. You should be using anything you're doing online should ultimately be bringing people to your website. I think having a website is very important, but what's even more important is having a good website. A website that is not dated, that's mobile friendly, that actually has current information on it. Think of it this way. Imagine two restaurants that are on two sides of the street. You get two brand new restaurants across the street from each other. Both have great food, both have great service, but one of them has a huge, beautiful neon sign, just an absolutely gorgeous sign above the door that's announcing them and telling people exactly what to expect. Meanwhile, the other restaurant on the other side of the street, they have this taped to a window. That's all they got, food. That's what it's like having a bad website. You don't want to be that restaurant with the food sign taped to your window. You want to be the one with the great sign above, and your website is certainly how you can achieve that, by having a nice website. Both of them might be good restaurants, but perception becomes reality in this case. You actually will end up attracting, or the perception of your restaurant will be what people are, or the reality will be what people perceive from that sign. So anyway, a website that looks old, it's 20 years old, maybe it's not mobile friendly, is not going to work for you. I'm sure Chris is going to talk more about that a little bit more. He's more of the website guy than I am. I don't build websites, but for now, we're going to move on to social media. Managing your social accounts from a business perspective is actually not too complicated. It's possible for a business owner or somebody attached to the business to run effective social media campaigns. You don't necessarily need to hire an agency like me. A lot of people do because they don't have the time to do it, but you can do it yourself. You just have to make sure that it becomes a priority for you. If you're posting a couple of days in a row, but then ignore it for a month, that's a bad thing. Social media pages that look dormant or maybe look abandoned, that can really hurt a business. 90% of consumers have said they use social media to research local brands, products, and services. A website can be a few years old, maybe even 5 or 10 years old, and the average consumer might not even realize it. But if they visit your Facebook page and they see that you haven't posted in a year, they might think you've gone out of business. So in fact, even more so in today's post-COVID world, or as we're coming out of COVID, if you have a business that has not been posting on their Facebook page, it's likely a consumer could assume that they've gone out of business. And if they assume you've gone out of business, what are they going to do? They're going to call your competition. So if forgetting to post on social media in general is a problem that you have, you can schedule these posts in advance. That makes it a lot easier. I always tell people to take advantage of these scheduling options. Both Facebook and YouTube have these scheduling options built right into their platform. You can do it right on Facebook. If you use Instagram, Twitter, even Pinterest and LinkedIn, you can schedule them in advance through other apps like Hootsuite. I use Hootsuite all the time. Buffer is another one. You can use these apps to help you to organize your social media posts as well. You could sit down like on a Sunday evening, and in like a half hour's time, you could probably schedule a couple of weeks worth of posts. And then you don't have to think about it as much. It's not something you have to do every single day. In social media, there's a lot of people that talk about something called an 80-20 rule. Sometimes they refer to it as a 75-25 rule. It basically means that 80% of your posts should be engaging, entertaining, informative. They don't have to be sales focused. The other 20% can be focused on selling your business. I always think of it like this. If you have a favorite TV show that's about maybe 30 minutes long, only 20 minutes of that show is probably programming, whereas 10% is going to be commercials. If it was flip-flopped and you had to watch 22 minutes of commercials to see 8 minutes of programming, you wouldn't keep watching that show. You'd tune out. It's the same kind of thing with social media. You sort of want to be engaging with people and finding things that they're going to be interacting with. Finding those engaging things is actually pretty easy, but just make sure they're relevant to your followers. For instance, if you owned a landscaping company, you know that your customers are homeowners. So just think of things that are relevant to homeowners outside of landscaping. Maybe you could offer them tips or find an article that offers tips on keeping your electric bill down in the summer. If you owned a dog grooming business, maybe you have tips on getting pet stains out of carpet. There's things like that that aren't directly related to selling your product, but are going to be interesting to your followers. Just be sure you're using trusted sources and try to avoid using copyrighted images. That's a big no-no on Facebook or Instagram. Once you're posting these updates on a regular basis, just pay attention to how these posts are performing, and if people are leaving comments, or certainly if they're sending you messages. I read recently that 75% of social media users expect a business to answer a question posted on their page within 24 hours. I've seen businesses that people go to and they're asking these questions and they get ignored for days and weeks on end. I'm sure that person has moved on to another company. So you have to be aware of that and make sure you're focused on that. If you're wondering about what social media you should be focused on, it all depends on the demographic of your business. Each channel has its own core demographic, and if you're looking to reach a really wide variety of people, I always say start with Facebook. Facebook is still the big dog. It's the biggest social media network out there. Even though some of these other ones have become popular, Facebook is still a good place to start. Instagram, for instance, we know is more popular with younger people. Their number one demographic actually is women 18 to 24 years old. So if you're looking to reach younger people, particularly women, Instagram is a good place to do that. It's also more engaging. Anybody who has posted on Instagram knows that you get way more engagement on your posts. I think it's as much as 7 times as much engagement on an Instagram post as you would get on Facebook. So that's people liking it, people commenting, etc. It's certainly the better option to go with. Pinterest is one that's another one that's very female dominated. You can reach females on Pinterest quite a bit. There are more and more men joining it, but I think it's still in that 80 to 85% female range as far as their users go. And people are using Pinterest. They're actually using things they find there. I read that this is kind of astonishing to me. 98% of Pinterest users have taken something they found on that site and used it in their own personal life offline, whether it's a recipe or something with clothing or decorating their house. So they're actually finding things on Pinterest that they like and applying it to their own life. We know video is huge. Just look at all the streaming services you have available on your TV to tell you that. 74% of adults in the US use YouTube on a regular basis, and 80% of parents say that their kids are watching YouTube on a regular basis. It's the number 2 website in the world, only behind Google. It's the number 2 social media platform, only behind Facebook. So, consider adding videos to your marketing mix as well. So a lot of people say, well, with all this information out there and all these different platforms, where do I start? Pick the one that's best for you in terms of your demographic, the one that's most aligned with your customers. That might be Facebook. It might be Instagram. It could be YouTube. But pick one and try to get really good at using that one before you start to move on to other ones. Because, if you're not comfortable with using one and you're adding a second and third and fourth social media, you're going to start to get burned out on it, and you're going to start to ignore some of them. And eventually you might end up ignoring all of them. And as we've said, ignoring your social media and having them go dormant is a bad thing. So it's best to start with one, focus on it, add a second, add a third as you get really comfortable in using it on a regular basis from a business standpoint, that is. We all probably know how to use it from a personal standpoint, but it is certainly a different thing. The last area I was going to talk about a little bit is advertising through a lot of these channels: Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, etc. It's pretty complex. Setting up an online ad campaign can be complex, so I'm not going to have time to get into all the details of doing that here. But wanted to touch on it because it could be a good addition to your general marketing plan. Facebook, first of all, Facebook ads give you the ability to micro-target people based on literally thousands of factors. I think it's pretty cool myself. You can target people by their location, age, gender, relationship status, their income level. From there, you can go really deep. Their job status. Do they have kids? How old are their kids? What kind of music do they like? What sports teams do they root for? I mean, these are all things that you can use to target people on Facebook ads. So what does all that mean? Think of it like this. If you were trying to reach a very narrow person, a very narrow specific group of people on Facebook, you could reach a 41-year-old female who drives an SUV, lives in Goodyear, has teenage sons, likes DIY projects. Maybe she owns a golden retriever, takes beach vacations, has an iPhone, recently moved into a new home, likes 80s music, and maybe has a master's degree. I mean, these are all things that you can use to target people on Facebook. So you can narrow in on that very specific individual if you wanted to with a Facebook ads, which from a business advertising standpoint, I've always thought that was really cool, and it's really effective for advertising. From a consumer basis, it's a little spooky. I get that. It's a little strange. Facebook knows that much information about us, but we're talking about marketing here. So let's not worry about that stuff for now. From a business marketing standpoint, it's definitely a good thing. And all those things apply to Instagram too, because they're owned by the same company. Google Ads is another option for advertising. A lot of people break down Google Ads into two separate areas: search ads and display ads, which people will also call banner ads. Search ads are the ones that will come up in a Google search. So you might be searching for a very specific keyword and it shows up in the top, those top search engine or top search results will come up. Those business ads have paid money to target specific keywords that you are searching for. And that's why they show up at the top. They could be shoe store in Surprise. It could be a business lawyer in Avondale. So these are the kinds of things that they're paying to set up. It's not real complex to set these ads up, but they can get kind of expensive. You pay per click. You've probably heard that term before. So you pay when somebody clicks on your ad. And the reason why they can get a little expensive is because you're essentially bidding against other businesses to get that click and to get that top one or two spots in the search results. Lawyers are a good example. There's a ton of lawyers. I see them on TV all the time here in the Valley. So if you're a small firm with just a couple of lawyers trying to compete against these massive, large firms with hundreds of lawyers who have these huge advertising budgets, it can be hard because they can afford to spend a lot more per click than you can. So you kind of have to be creative and find other ways to do it. Display ads or banner ads, as some people call them, are the ads you see all over the internet. They're on pretty much every website you visit. You create the image, and then you choose a basic level of targeting. You can choose gender, age, location, and you can even pick out specific websites where you'd like to have your ad appear. You can pick YouTube videos, specific YouTube videos where maybe you want to have the ad appear. Again, people pay when people click onto your ad. And all of this advertising, as well as your social media in general, like I mentioned earlier, is about driving people to your website. And you don't want to drive people to a crappy website, to be honest. If you have a website that's dated and it's not quite ready for all this advertising, it's not doing what it should to sell your business and acting as a sales tool, I wouldn't spend a lot of time advertising, because you're just going to spend money, get people to go to your website, and then they're going to be like, I don't like this. This business doesn't have it together. It's not interesting to me. They're not really ready for my business, and they're going to move on somewhere else. So get your website in order first, and then move on to some advertising, and then that's kind of a good order to do that. Lastly, I was going to mention Google Analytics and Facebook Pixels. Those are the ways that you can do retargeting ad campaigns. Retargeting ads are those that follow you around the internet. So maybe you were on a website looking at golf clubs, and then the next day, or even a couple of hours later, you could see everywhere you go, you see ads for those golf clubs, the same clubs you were just looking at. That's because they are retargeting you as a consumer through these ads using Google Analytics and Facebook Pixels. Those are the types of things that I can help a company with. I can help businesses with, do all those things. For me personally, when I see these retargeting ads, pretty much all I see are guitars, beer, and coffee. So I guess Google knows me pretty well. That's really all I have. I just wanted to kind of touch on some of those things. Live Marketing Group provides services in all these areas. We can either help you with actually running these campaigns for you, or if you like, we can be more of an advisor, and I can help you work on those yourself. So we can be sort of a consultant where I'm helping you to run these things on your own. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to hearing what Chris has to say.
John, thank you so much. That was very informative, and appreciate your insights, and that was great. So John, if you wouldn't mind putting your contact information in the bottom of the Zoom session, that would be great.
Will do. Thank you.
So we'll now have Chris Amos, No Boundaries Marketing Group. You probably all know Chris already, but here's Chris. Chris,
that guy. It's that guy. Oh no. And I apologize for the no video today. It's not that I am horrendous and walking around in underwear. It is that I have low bandwidth on my internet. So this is the best you get. So there are a couple things that we're going to go over here today. And so even though you don't get to see my pretty face, to kind of piggyback on much of what we went over here already is going to be really on the website. So obviously, we do a lot of focus on that, on search engine optimization, stuff like that, and getting found. And so, to piggyback on what was mentioned is that this is absolutely the foundation of any successful marketing strategy. So, John had alluded to, everything kind of points back, so on and so forth. And that really is the case. And so anytime we have clients that run social media, they run various ad campaigns, you got to remember, you have to understand that searcher's intent. You have to understand that where they find the message and what they're doing on those platforms. So for example, like social media, if you're on Facebook, you're scrolling through, maybe your Facebook stalking friend or whatever the case may be. When you see an advertisement that comes up that might pique your interest, you have to remember, was that person necessarily looking to come to your website at that particular time? Probably not. They were just browsing through, happened to catch your attention. So again, when you look at the analytics behind things, it really paints that big picture. The concept that we teach clients is that we really want clients to understand that you got to put your best foot forward. So, and I think John had mentioned that, and really it comes down to, you get one shot to make a great first impression, right? That goes for all of us, no matter what the interaction is, no matter where it takes place or when it takes place, you get one shot to make a great first impression. And so this is where we got to put our best foot forward. In my world, content's king. And this really comes down to our philosophy behind websites and behind really marketing as a whole, is education is key. We need to establish ourselves as that trusted authority in whatever it is we do. So whether we're a marketing expert, whether we're a global industry leader in trade, it spans everything. When somebody finds you via search, and again, there's some awesome tools that I'll show you guys today, but when you look at search and when you look at how people are searching, it really tells the tale of what they're looking for. Because when we really break search down, it's really, you're asking a question, right? When you're looking for a business, you're looking for, it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, if it's, again, real estate, whatever the case may be, there's a ton of opportunity out there. And again, this is what's going to share it. John or Jeffrey, can you do me a favor and enable screen share? I'm going to show a couple of
Someone.
There we go.
Got it? Okay.
Got it. All right. So this is one of the applications that we use on a daily basis. And again, this really helps us kind of understand how people are searching. So there's two of these that I'm going to showcase today. And again, this just helps paint that picture. Now, mind you, we have a paid subscription. There is a free version of this. It's limited, but if anybody needs a report ran, it really takes no time for us to do it. So I have no problem running that report for you. But I'm just going to give an example here, and I'm going to, let's do chiropractor. And the fun part is we can literally nail down the geography in this. And the cool part about doing this type of stuff, it's really eye-opening for a lot of businesses to understand, hey, this is what literally is happening within my community real time. Again, it's a great illustration for our business or for our clients to understand how people are searching, where they're searching, because once we understand this foundation, it'll help guide us into developing a better website. So like the example that I give here, now I'm just summarizing it and we'll breeze through this a little bit, but here, what do chiropractors do? Who is a chiropractor? Again, lots of these long tail keywords, lots of these questions that are being asked. These are the top 200 right here. And you can see within Goodyear for chiropractors, there's over 2,000 searches a month on average, looking for those type of services. Some of them might be looking for jobs, some of them, again, so you got to really kind of nail down this data. But in general, we're looking at roughly about 2,000 searches a month. The other cool part too is when we look at this report will also show us the competitors that are out there, so we know who we're competing against. Understanding this is, to me, one of the most, not the most, but one of the most critical components of having a digital marketing strategy. When we understand our competitors and when we understand how people are searching, again, it will help us refine that content on our website. It will help us educate. It'll help provide a better user experience for those who are visiting our site. So looking at this, again, I believe, let's see here, going through this, Copper Canyon. I was looking to see if we had any chamber members in here. I think Spine Health, if I'm not mistaken. But again, you can see what you're competing against, so on and so forth. Another really cool tool that we use here is called the Answer the Public. Some people find this dude a little bit creepy when it comes up, but it's kind of fun to watch him. He walks across the screen, he looks at you, he does all sorts of stuff. So they change this up periodically, but anyway, it doesn't look like they have him on there. It was a dude with his face and he just looks at you. It's kind of funny. Anyway, but you can do the same thing here, and you can type in chiropractor, and we can select the default state or country. And again, this is a little bit more broad, but it provides us a really deep understanding, again, back to what people are looking for. So as this report runs, you'll kind of get a more illustrative view of how people search, so on and so forth. So these two resources are what we use to do our basic keyword research. So it's kwfinder.com for this for the first one, and the second one is called Answer the Public. Those are two free resources that we use to, again, just give us a deeper understanding of an industry or a particular topic. The third one that I'm going to go into, or actually before we go into that, so to kind of piggyback on this one here, again, this provides that illustration that some people are looking for here, but more so I just care about the data. So again, how chiropractors work. When you really look and understand this stuff, this is what we're writing content to. So using chiropractors or picking on chiropractors as an example here, a lot of the times when you visit a website, and again, using these guys as an example, you're going to find that a lot of chiropractor websites will talk about the chiropractor. We'll talk about the, chiropractic work in general, maybe their technique, things like that. But what a lot of them fail to do is they talk about the different conditions that they support. So again, when we talk about getting chiropractors to compete more effectively with, let's say family care providers or medical specialists, again, talking about sciatica, pinched nerve, herniated disc, TMJ, obviously posture, arthritis, allergies. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people obviously right here asking these questions. And this is a phenomenal way for, again, chiropractors to compete more effectively. And every industry has these reports available for them so that they can dive into what people are asking for. A lot of the times we get caught up in just talking about our general services, but what we lack is that connection point with what the real question is. And the real question is they're trying to solve a need or a problem. And again, this just helps paint that bigger picture, if you will. Sometimes, again, and not to say all this data is relevant here, again, are chiropractors doctors? I mean, you may, as a chiropractor, want to answer that. You may not. It's really up to you. But the idea is when you understand how people are searching, you can understand what to write about. When you understand what to write about, you're answering questions. Google's going to view you as a trusted authority. You're going to rank higher. And again, that plays into a bigger overall strategy. So from a website perspective, this is kind of our starting point. The second part, again, is the aesthetic side. So we try to educate clients on a couple of things here. When it comes to websites, there's two different versions. We got to appeal to, obviously, the consumer, which is aesthetics, and then we got to appeal to Google and the search engine. Google doesn't see the front end of a website. So if we use my website as an example here, and you right-click, if you ever want to have a little fun or you're bored and you have nothing else to do on a Saturday, and again, I apologize for the poor connection here, but when you go to a website, you can right click on the website, you can come down to view page source. And again, in a nutshell, this is what Google sees. They see all the fun text, they see all the coding that's on the backside of this. The unfortunate part is they don't see all the aesthetics. They don't see the pictures. And so this is why it's so important to have a well-structured, well-organized website. The aesthetic side of things, it has to be visually appealing. It has to make sense. It's got to have a nice flow. I build my websites from a conversation standpoint, and there's numerous different strategies with this. So whatever fits your business, obviously, is what you should do. But you can go conversational. You can go, pretty much a direct sales pitch. Again, lots of different options there. But for me, it's more of a conversation. I want to take people on a journey. I want to help my clients understand, hey, this is why we do what we do. This is what we do. This is, who we support. We're very active in the community. I want this to be more than just give me your money, give me your money, give me your money, right? So it's a concept called humanizing your brand. So as you go through here, there's different aspects, like, again, strategic partners. We talk about those. Again, more content talking about what we do. These are our connection points with, the various chambers of commerce. So again, these are little badges of trust, if you will. And as you go through here, just more content, again, appealing to Google. We try to help clients understand our processes, so on and so forth. Testimonial video. And then at the very bottom, various things that we're featured in. Again, little badges of honor. So again, this is our system. Doesn't mean that it's the right fit for everybody. But at the end of the day, we try to invoke that trust, that confidence, so on and so forth with our clients. And then again, we have our organizations, nonprofits that we support. And this, again, humanizes that brand. This takes us from that corporate, all they care about is collecting a paycheck type thing. And again, this helps people connect with that outside, nonprofit, the benevolent agenda, if you will. So again, just a couple of concepts there. But the thing that I really want to stress on websites is going to be the dynamic visuals. So above and beyond content, we need dynamic visuals. A lot of the times you see people with websites and they use stock photography, especially when you hire an outside company, or maybe you do a DIY website builder. There's nothing wrong with those. They're a great starting point for a lot of businesses. You're never going to hear me knock another marketing company. I think there's value in every form of marketing. It's just all in what your expectations are in terms of what you get out of it. But big picture wise, when we look at, again, how a website's structured, there's not a perfect way for everybody. So there's not like some silver bullet that I can provide anybody today. It really has to embody what you're looking to get out of it. But again, back to the dynamic visuals, what we want to make sure that people understand is the more personalized you can make a website, the better off you're going to be. And I really, really, really stress that. Stock photography is fantastic. Obviously, it's well done. It's purpose built. But at the end of the day, even though it's a good representation of maybe your product or your service, it's not a personalized representation. And that's really what people connect to. People want to see the business owner. So I get a lot of clients that, they'll have a little apprehension to maybe taking some pictures or having their picture on the website, or maybe their family's pictures, things like that. And really what I want to stress to business owners is that, you're the face of the organization. Your staff, really what you put forth, that's really what you need to focus on. Your office, your building, your trucks. There's so many ways to personalize imagery. You working with clients, even if the photo's staged. Again, there's a lot of awesome connection points there. So do yourself a favor and really focus on that. Look at your own website and see, does it really capture an audience? Does it really engage? Does it really create that connection, that emotional connection with the consumer? And if it doesn't, again, there's ways to fix that. Go out, hire somebody to take some pictures. I'm a big fan of, and I always stress this too, nowadays with most mobile phones, their cameras are fantastic. Most of those are, good enough to go on a website. Not all, but some. But do yourself a favor. There's a lot of great, very talented photographers out there that earn a living doing this, and they know how to structure things. They know how to edit. They know how to do a lot of fun stuff. So to give a shout out to some of our photographers in the chamber, again, I would highly encourage from a business photography standpoint, really look at that. I think it's worth its weight in gold. So again, we even hire photographers to do our own shoots. So, food for thought. I would highly, highly, highly encourage that. The other thing that I'm going to share with you here, and this is a multifaceted platform here. You'll hear me if you ever attend any of my courses that I teach every single month. We use a free program. Again, we have a paid subscription to it, but Canva is a phenomenal platform to use for those entry-level first-timers. Again, my staff largely use it. If you're a little more advanced and you work in Photoshop or some of the other editing softwares out there, fantastic. But for, most people, this is a really great user-friendly tool. The thing that I like about Canva is this, that a client can go in, and if they want to create their own ad copy, they can create their own Facebook ad, cover photos, event covers, posts, you name it. They have a lot of these settings already in there. Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So when you come in here, again, free resource, doesn't cost anything, and it gives you access to a ton of tools, both for the website and for social media, even flyers, business proposals, you name it. There's literally a ton you can do in here. Again, from the stock photography standpoint, we do use some of these in here. So they do have a photo section. They do have free photos in there. So like I said, it's super, super, super versatile. You can download it on your phone. I mean, again, on a fly, I can create stuff for clients on the fly if need be. But again, tons and tons and tons of great stuff. QR codes. I know that's kind of popping back in. I've had a few clients request QR codes recently. So again, take a look at this. If you're looking for a really quick, really easy to use resource to create this type of stuff, Canva is a phenomenal way to do it. Yeah, and then go from there. So I know that's a ton of information. So Jeffrey, anything else you want me to cover? Anything else you want to?
No, we'll start with probably some Q&A, but Chris, that was great. Love some of those tips. And then I just want to second that Canva, even for someone that's a little slow on the creative side as I am, Canva's good. It even works for me. So if you're afraid to get into that stuff, Canva will definitely get you through it. It's a great tool. And it was great to hear on the other ones to find out some data. That was great. So thank you, Chris, for that insights. And it kind of piggybacked really well with what John had talked about. But let's put it out for some questions now, Q&A. And we'll unmute you as you ask a question. So do we have somebody out there?
Hey, Jeffrey, it's Lisa. I have a question for Chris.
Okay.
Chris, was that one website kwfinder.com?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, kwfinder.com. It's actually app.kwfinder, but if you just search that in Google, you'll find it.
All right, thanks.
All right, next question.
I have a question too for Chris, actually.
Okay, John.
I think I'm unmuted. Chris, I was wondering about in terms of websites and especially building a website, do you tend to lean towards creating a blog for a website or trying to have content, Google-friendly content more natural throughout the site rather than sort of forced into a blog? I know there's sort of two schools of thought there.
Sure. So when it comes to content creation and really evolution of content on a website is that we have our core pages, right? So we have, picking on chiropractors again, just since I was working on one this morning. So on a chiropractor website, we have services, we have conditions that they support, all that fun stuff. That's our core inner content of a website. That's the foundation, if you will, of what we do. I always teach clients there are two forms of blogs out there, and this is what gets confusing to people, is that there's on-site blogs and off-site blogs. So from an on-site blog standpoint, that's going to support inner core content. We want to focus when you do produce a blog, you want to give yourself just credit. You want Google to understand that what I just wrote over here is connected to this topic over here. And so we encourage interlinking. So a lot of the times within websites, and again, just like a Word document or anything else that you do, it's super, super easy for you to connect that by just highlighting, creating a link over to whatever it is you're blogging about and connecting it to those core inner pages. So as a part of a bigger strategy, what we encourage clients to do is that, again, let's focus on really what it is you want to do. I mean, that's as simple as we can put it. When we want to focus on, again, using chiropractors, if we wanted to focus on helping patients with arthritis, so we'd have a strong inner core page, and then our blogs, maybe we would write 1 to 2, maybe 3, depending on what a client can be consistent with. We would say, okay, let's write 1, 2, or 3, however many they can do, and let's interlink those over to that page. And then we're really telling Google, hey, look, here's some additional supporting content. There's additional keywords. There's interlinks. Everything is working the way that it should. On the flip side of that, then we also have off-site blogs. To explain that simply, off-site blogs are used as link building. And so what we do with there is that's kind of a little badge of trust, if you will, with Google that says, okay, well, if we produce an off-site blog and I send it over to John and John posts a blog on his website that talks about this particular chiropractor, and let's say John's website ranks really, really well, well, in that instance, that's Google's going to look at that and say, oh, if John links over to bobsmithchiropractor.com, well, then Bob Smith Chiropractor must be a pretty legit website. And so again, that might bump you up a little bit. You do that a few hundred or so many times, and again, now you start to create those little trust factors with Google, because obviously guilt by association, Google looks at this, and if all of these websites out there link over to me or to you, then you must be a trusted authority. They have no other metric to go off of, really. I say that lightly. There's a lot of other metrics they go off of, but that hopefully helps people understand the difference between on-site and off-site blogs. And again, you need to have a balance between the two, because we want those trust and credibility factors out there. And that's really what blogs do. They support inner core content and they create trust factors with Google and the major search engines.
Great. How about another question from the audience? Shelley? Was that a hand? Okay.
Yeah,
there
thank
go.
you. Yes, hi, hello everyone. I'm with Litchfield Elementary School District. We have a website and our social posts automatically link to our website. So for example, last night, one of our teachers was honored by the Goodyear City Council, and we're really excited about that. And we want to blast that good news everywhere. But if we take her picture on our Instagram and our web and our Facebook and we post those similarly, it makes our website look a little bit boring and certainly duplicative. So do you have some ideas about how to spruce that up a little bit?
I can maybe answer. So what you're saying is that anything gets posted on Facebook automatically gets on your website as well. So you're saying it's already there, or?
It's currently feeding automatically. Our social automatically feeds to our website.
Okay.
But we have the same story that we want to put on both social pages. So then it duplicates or looks really similar. You know, we'll use a similar photo or a similar post language because it's the same story. And so now we get 2 hits on our website that look almost identical.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it already does live on your social media too, right? So I mean, if it's, so you're kind of duplicating in both places then, aren't you? Or no? Or am I hearing it wrong?
We're not adding it specifically to the website. We're just letting our social feed to the website.
Okay, but I'm saying, but if you've already posted it on your social media once, then you just want to repurpose that again? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because we put it on Facebook and Insta.
Yep. I mean, yeah, there's really, unfortunately, so I'm guessing you probably have a feed built into your website that shows your social posts. And that's common. A lot of websites, a lot of people do that. There's really not, unless Chris has a better idea, I can't think of a necessarily a way to make it look unique when anything you put on Facebook is also going to duplicate to the site, you know, unless you were able to turn that off somehow. But, you know, it seems like you're probably kind of stuck there to a certain extent. Maybe Chris has a different thought on that.
Yeah, and I don't know that, you know, I think getting a synonymous experience is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, again, I would hope that the website would maybe have a more in-depth, let's say, description or, you know, some more in-depth information maybe on it. But we always encourage, you know, again, having a synonymous experience. So again, I'd have to look a little bit more into it, but overall, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Especially when it's good news you're trying to share.
Next question.
I have one. This is Sandy Weissman.
Hi, Sandy.
How are you? So, John, I know you mentioned the 80-20, the 75-25% rule. How often is too much, if there's such a thing as too much? Or how much is not enough? Do you know what I mean? You don't want people to just go, oh, and scrolling by you.
Exactly. There's not a magic number for that. It all depends on the business. You know, there are businesses that get away with posting 4 or 5 times a day on Facebook or Instagram. Mostly large national brands will do that. Or I should say maybe more often than that. I mean, I think I follow something like ESPN. I mean, they're probably posting 12, 15 times a day. You know, and I'm not sure that that would be great for a local bank. I'm not sure if that'd be great for the WAFED location to be doing that, or an accountant or somebody that might be a little extreme. So you kind of have to find a happy medium. It's, you know, I tell people kind of as a minimum, at least a couple of times a week. I mean, that would be the bare minimum for posting. And if you post every day, I don't think that's a bad thing. It all depends on how much time you have, you know, and most people don't have time to post every day. That's just the nature of being a small business owner or you know, managing a small business. You know, I'm the worst. I tell people, do as I say, not as I do. Please don't look at any of my live marketing group social media accounts because I'm awful. I'm terrible at it. I preach people don't ignore your social media accounts, and that's exactly what I do. So anyway, but it's definitely, you know, you kind of got to find the happy medium of how much you have time to do, but also trying to stay relevant. A couple of times a week is okay. More is probably better. Once a day is fine too. I wouldn't do 5 or 6 times a day. I think that's silly. And who has time for that anyway? So.
Right. Thank
Right.
you.
Well, I have a question, and this, Chris, this might apply to you. I hear all the time when businesses are either starting up or they've had their business for a while, but their website needs a little overhaul. What colors, how do they pick the colors that they're going to use, the content? What's a strategy that would be the easiest way to look at it? Either one of you gentlemen.
Sure. I'll start it. When we talk about branding requirements and guidelines for clients, color, believe it or not, plays a lot into the mix. And I know that sounds silly. And, for some clients, it's an incredibly personal experience, and it's something, they have, roots under, and that's great. I always tell clients, listen, what do you embody? What inspiration do you draw from? We look at logo design, we look at products, we look at the industry, we look at a variety of factors in terms of how we ultimately get there. Now, that's obviously a more complicated, in-depth dive, if you will. But again, an oversimplification can just be something as simple as, hey, what color palette do you like? There are certain trends, like, right now, a lot of pastels are, kind of going around. You'll see a lot of, the pastel yellows, blues, soft tones, soft colors and stuff like that. My favorites are the blues. I think it's easier to kind of discern what to stay away from. And, again, you just have to make sure that you mix your colors the right way. But big picture wise, I always look at, I try to stay away from red tag, on websites, those type of things. Blues are always a strong one. So blues are always a good, nice color. People like light right now. So again, where my site's black, it's kind of like one end of the spectrum or the other. For me, black and yellow, really dynamic, crisp colors for us. For a lot of clients right now, we're building, again, white backgrounds with pastels and stuff. So, but I always say from a color perspective, it really is a personal decision for the client. The only thing that I encourage is be consistent with your coloring. The last thing we want to see is, one logo on Facebook that's one way, the website's another. That throws people off.
Great. Thanks, Chris. All right. How about another question from our audience? Come on, don't be shy. Or unmute. All right.
One thing I could maybe add a little bit quickly onto what Chris said about the website and the colors. In my career, a couple different jobs I had, it was sort of my responsibility to be the kind of the brand police, so we had, you do have very specific brand guidelines for the companies I worked for. And that involves the coloring and logo usage and fonts. And we would have we had even brand books that outlined all these things. And so I was always kind of the guy that would watch to make sure other departments outside of marketing, whether it was sales or other people, were using the branding correctly. So if you have a logo that has specific fonts and specific colors, maybe try to match that up with your website and have that kind of work. As Chris said, consistency is key. Don't have different logos here and there. Have a logo that gets flip-flopped in different places. I always hate that. I always kind of watch for that. When I see people using their logos, I'm always watching to see if it's used the same way every time. So just something to keep in mind there.
Great. All right, if we don't have any additional questions, gentlemen, how about some closing comments?
I'll let John kick it off or end it.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I don't really have much else to say other than, I've been a chamber member very shortly after I moved into our house here in Arizona. So I've been a chamber member about 1.5 years now, a little more than 1.5 years now, and absolutely enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of the chamber. I think you guys do such great work. Really excited to see what Jeffrey's going to bring to the table here, as well as Chris now leading the board of directors. So it's a wonderful chamber. I was really excited to see all the people that joined today too. So hopefully I'll get to meet some of you in person as well. Some of you I know are on our networking at noon calls and meetings over the last year, so I know some of you there. But yeah, that's all. I'm just a very happy chamber member, and thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this.
Great. That kind of fits our 80-20 rule. 80% content and 20% promote the chamber. That's what our plan was today. Thanks.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I squeezed it in for you.
All right. Chris, anything else that you'd like to add or?
No, we always say, advice is always free. So if anybody has any questions, concerns, anything they want to run by me or my staff, we don't charge for that type of stuff. I'd much rather help you guys grow and, get out there. So again, if there's anything we can do to help, please reach out. There's no stupid questions out there. So shoot us an email, give us a call, whatever it takes, but we're happy to help.
Great. And Chris and John had both put their contact information there. So if you want to reach out to them, get that before you leave. And also I'd like to recognize, as it was mentioned, Chris is our chair of the board of directors, but we also have some other board of directors on here. Shelley Hornbach's on here, Jenny Thomas, Lisa Platt, Jeffrey Garza Walker, Wally Campbell, and Paco Cerda. So welcome board members, and thank you for joining us today. And I also want to just kind of give you a little closing comment, is that this forum series will continue each month. So look for the upcoming one. It'll be every month, same time, same day of the week. And look for some networking opportunities that'll come up, and then save the date. We have our membership meeting Thursday, September 23rd at the Phoenix Raceway. So that'll be a day where we highlight what we've done, where we're going, have some updates from our city officials, and it's going to be a great venue in the Phoenix Raceway. No cars, but we'll have some good content and good speakers and some good networking opportunities. So save that date and look for more to come out on that, and look for a bunch of other things that are coming out. So I want to thank you all for attending today. And hope to meet you all in person if I haven't had the opportunity. So everybody have a great day and great rest of the week. Appreciate you being here.
Yep, thanks, Jeffrey. Have a good one.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Have a great day.